everyone, and welcome back to Keeping It Juicy. I am super excited to have Theresa Bonner here with me. Today we're going to, as always, keep it juicy, keep it real, keep it raw and honest. So I want to start with Theresa introducing herself, where she lives, what she does. She's a business owner, so we'll first jump into that.
Hi. Yes, my name is Theresa Bonner. I am the owner of a small business in Somerville, New Jersey called Third Child Wellness. I've been in business since 2018, started out as just online and street fairs and things like that, like very small in my kitchen. And, developed everything myself. It's basically what the business is vegan skincare and aromatherapy products. I started making products for myself years ago when I had little babies and I was constantly washing my hands and my skin was just falling apart, dry, chapped, horribleness. And so I made skin repair butter. I just figured out the recipe on my own. Basically, I, found shea butter's amazing and soy wax is very nourishing and avocado oil is great for your skin. So I just experimented in my kitchen. That was my first product. And I've always been into essential oils and aromatherapy. And so I incorporated that in. And so it just kind of took off from there. And then over the years, it's transformed into many different things. And so that's my business. And
where can people find you on?
So my website is thirdchildwb.com because it's thirdchildwellnessboutique.com. I always had this dream of opening my own brick and mortar store. So I put that last word on there in hopes that someday it would happen, the boutique part of it. And it did. And I'm on Instagram, Real Third Child Wellness Boutique. The reel's on there because a couple of years ago, my Instagram was stolen and I couldn't get it back. So I had to start a new one. Mm-hmm. Lame.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Ooh, son.
And for the last, since September of last year, I've been a councilwoman in Somerville as well.
How has that been going?
Oh, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I thought it was going to be boring, honestly, because, local politics, how exciting could it be? But it's actually very exciting and interesting, and I'm learning a lot.
Do people get paid for that, even a stipend, or is it
a little tiny bit?
Yeah.
Some towns they don't get paid anything.
Right.
Some towns get paid more. I honestly
Depends
don't know.
on the town.
It is a stipend. It's like a quarterly stipend. Very little money. It's
Awesome.
It's basically volunteer.
Awesome.
So
awesome in a sense.
Yeah.
Well, great.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have you here. We've known each other for a few years now. Met through social media, like majority of people who are on my podcast and who are my friends now. And today we're going to be talking about your sober journey. And as you guys know, I have had a podcast on or an episode on my relationship with alcohol, and it's super interesting that you're on now because I hadn't drank since Thanksgiving of 2023, and then this Sunday I had my first drink. And of course I'm like analyzing it, why did I do that? Why did I have it? That kind of stuff. Yeah. And I think it was a beautiful day. It was a Sunday, and I was like, I would just love to have a drink. And I go back and forth, should I do it? Should I not do it? Blah, blah, blah. And eventually I just got to the point where I said, just stop thinking about it. And if you want to drink, have a drink. Like, it's not that big a deal. Yeah. And I always said, I'm not, sober forever. I'm not, this is just a journey that I'm on. And I had one high noon, and by the end I was like,
I was going to say, how did you feel afterwards?
I really felt it quickly, which I always usually felt alcohol quickly, but this I felt quickly. And then I switched right over to Spindrift. And that kind of, it all went away, and I was like, oh, and then you feel the guilt. Why did I do that? But I just kind of let it go. And then during dinner, we had my family over. I probably had like 4 sips of red wine. And then since Sunday, I'm like, no, I'm not into it. Or it's just this time in my life. It's just not meant for me. Yeah. But I would love to hear your journey of, where you were, even when you were younger, from where you went to in adulthood to where you are now.
Sure. So I would say that my history with alcohol is pretty normal. It's average, I would say. When I was a kid, I was raised in an Italian household. So at Christmas, even, when you're 5 or 6 years old, you have a little tiny glass of wine with dinner because everybody's having wine. It's kind of just part of being in that family, and that it's part of the meal. It's part of the celebration. I didn't drink in high school. I was like a super good conservative girl that I didn't go to parties. I didn't get invited to parties that were drinking parties. In college, I drank a little, not as much as most of my friends did.
Yeah, me neither.
Because again, I was like,
Goody
I was a good
two-shoes.
girl,
Yeah.
and my parents told me, you don't drink. I was on a dry campus, so it was not easy to get alcohol on. You go down and go to the liquor store and have an older person, because I wasn't 21 yet, buy the Zima, because, Boone's Farm, Strawberry Hill wine and Zima, whatever, you put in your duffel and you sneak it back onto campus and you sneak into the dorms, and it was not a common thing for me. I did it every once in a while. And then after 2 years of college, I dropped out of college, and I was kind of lost. I went to college to be an opera singer.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I really wanted to be a singer, but I didn't want to take music theory. I didn't want to learn how to conduct an orchestra. I didn't want to learn how to play piano. I just wanted to sing. And my grades reflected that. And I just decided, I should just drop out. So I did.
And where did you go for 2 years?
I was at Mansfield University in Pennsylvania. And I just got super depressed and lost. And I started drinking heavily.
As you moved back home?
I did. Yeah. That was another thing is, I felt like a loser, I felt like I failed at what I was supposed to do. You graduate high school, you go to college, you graduate college, you get a career.
That's what we're told.
And I moved in with a dude. Blah, terrible relationship. Drank heavily to the point of blacking out. Almost every weekend. Sorry, Mom, you don't know any of this. I love you. But anyway, and that was just kind of that started that relationship with alcohol where I just wanted to escape. It was my escape. It was my way of not dealing with hard things. With my life sucks. I don't know how to deal. And that's just kind of how alcohol. I mean, I will say that was a short phase of the binge drinking blackout kind of thing. Thank goodness.
So how long were you living with this man and or binge drinking at the same time?
We lived together for 9 months. I call it my horrible pregnancy of 9 months of a terrible relationship. And then I moved out. I left him and moved back in with my parents. And that was it. That was the end of that era of that being really terrible to myself.
Now, would you say that you drank that whole time?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a bad scene. And I ended up thankfully moving. I had 2 jobs. I earned a lot. I saved a lot of money. Somehow I was still able to do that. Mm-hmm. And then I moved out of state, got out of that.
Oh, where'd you move?
To New Jersey, because I'm from upstate New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, fast forward, still, I got through life. I moved forward. I ended up getting married early, when I was 23.
To your current husband?
No. Ex-husband. We were married for 8 years. And again, I used alcohol to deal with that terrible relationship. And
Did your husband drink at that point?
He
Your
did.
ex-husband?
He did, yep.
Did he
yep.
drink heavily? Did he have...
He would, from time to time, drink heavily, yeah. And so it felt right because he was older than me, and I won't say I was following his example, but it's easier to drink heavily when you live with somebody who drinks heavily.
Yes. And what would you say for me, whenever I would drink if I drank on a Friday, I would be like in bed on Saturday. I would be depressed and anxious on Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, I would kind of be better. By Wednesday, Thursday, I would be back to myself and I'd restart on Friday. What was your timeline with that? Or like, how did you feel?
I would feel like I would drink heavily enough so I'd be hungover the next day and I would feel sick and kind of have the jitters and things like that, but it wasn't enough to make me not want to drink anymore. Yeah. It was just kind of like, well, that's the result. This is what it is, yeah. That was the cycle, and I was okay with that. So fast forward some more, divorced, finally got that relationship out of my system.
This is all in New Jersey.
Yeah. And then I met, it was about 6 months after my separation from my ex-husband and everything, I met my current husband, and he's amazing and I love him, and he's never been a drinker. He, it's just not his thing. First of all, he's very cheap. He doesn't like to spend money on unnecessary things.
I like that.
And he also doesn't want to be addicted to anything. Mm-hmm. That's just his personality. He's never had coffee in his life, which kills me because you know me and coffee.
Wow.
Like,
he's never had coffee in his life?
He's never had coffee his entire life.
You should slip it into something. So
But anyway, so that was interesting because I was still a drinker.
And how long ago was this?
2000. We got married in 2007, but we met in 2005. And it was just kind of, I had to hide my drinking more.
Interesting. Why did you feel like you had to hide it?
Because I wanted to live up to his view of me.
Interesting. When you reflect back on that now, what do you think of that?
I think that's really sad. You know? That in all other ways, I was my authentic self with him. And I mean, thankfully, I drank less since I've been with him, mm-hmm. for quite a while. But I would go out with my girlfriends, get blitzed out of my mind, because when you're a mom, I don't know what it is in the rest of the country, but in New Jersey, when you're a mom, you are expected to drink heavily. You're almost not considered a real mom unless you have to have mommy juice or mama's little helper at the end of the day. It's expected.
Interesting.
And so I lived up to that. You know, I was like, cool. I have an excuse to lose myself. Mm-hmm. I have an excuse to drink heavily because I'm a mom now. And that's what moms do. I was in the mom's club in Somerville, and that was a big part of being in mom's club. Wow. Was drinking. And then, so 5 years ago today, my father died.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you've been sober since.
No.
I was like, wow!
No, 5 years ago today, my father passed away of complications from like double pneumonia, and then he had a heart attack. My father and I were very, very close. I was born on his birthday. We had a tight connection that way. So, of course, what am I going to do to deal with that pain and suffering? I laid down on the floor in my living room with my weighted blanket with a big cheap bottle of wine and a bag of flaming hot Cheetos, like family size. And that's how I dealt. And emotionally and mentally, I stayed on that floor for about a year. You know, I walked around, I did my life, I adulted, I took care of my kids, but I emotionally was on that floor, under that blanket with that bottle of wine. And that, because I wasn't equipped to deal with mourning my father, because I had spent the majority of my life hiding from my emotions underneath alcohol. So yeah, that's how I mourned, is I drank and I drank and I drank. And then COVID happened, and some woman in town started the wine fairy. I don't know if you heard of this, but it's where women deliver baskets to each other on their doorsteps with wine or liquor of some kind, and treats, snacks, magazines, whatever, during COVID, so that we would, stay sane. You know, we couldn't go see each other. So here's some booze. And that was amazing. That was perfect. The first thing I did when I heard about the lockdown was not go out and get toilet paper. It was go to the liquor store and buy 2 huge bottles of vodka and 1 huge bottle of bourbon. That was my survival kit for COVID. So,
and what did your husband think of that?
He didn't know.
He knows now. No, just kidding.
Hi, Kofi.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom and Kofi can sit together and go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I prepared myself for being in the house with my kids for a year, was get as much alcohol as I possibly could. But then, about, let's see, what was it? 2021, January of 2021. I don't know. I just woke up one day, and after probably getting sick or something from drinking too much, and just decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. It was like a light switch.
Interesting.
That's all I can describe it as, is a light switch.
Yeah.
So the light went on after being off for years. I walked over to Kofi and I just said, okay, so I've decided I'm not drinking anymore, and I need your help. I need your help with that. I need your support. So the next time you see me, I don't know, you're going to have to watch for signs. You're going to have to know that I'm needing a drink, or if I say I need a drink, you need to help me. You need to help me through that, because I don't want to drink anymore. I'm done. I quit. I'm never drinking again. And
it's easier said than done.
It's very different from your feeling, your relationship, because you didn't have that addiction. I mean, at the same level.
I don't think I did, but I think I have a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol, in a sense where I have a sip and I just want to keep going.
Right.
Everyone has a different...
And that's exactly how I am. Like, I know myself well enough to know I can never have another drink. Because if I do, it's going to be that same struggle all over again.
So you have not drank since January 2021.
That is correct. And he was just kind of like, okay, like, whatever you need, I'm here. Honestly, he was happy that I wasn't going to drink anymore, because he had seen me get sick. He had cleaned up my vomit. He had, he was happy that I wasn't going to be spending a lot of money on alcohol anymore, because that is a huge...
Isn't it amazing that you spend money on something we don't need to live?
Yeah. And so, I mean, that he's just like, okay, cool. But at that point, I don't believe that he had any idea of how much I had been drinking. I hid it really well. I would drink early in the day so that by the time he got home, I was sober again, so then I could drink again later when he did know, because it's okay to have a glass of wine or two before bed, but you shouldn't be drinking at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever when nobody else is home. Like, in my mind, that's how I worked it all out. So I don't think he knew how big of a deal it was.
Were you doing that every day?
Yeah.
So would you consider yourself an alcoholic?
Absolutely. 100%. And, but I hid it so well that nobody, if you ask somebody, nobody would have ever thought that I was. In fact, you know, it took my family a while, my brothers, sisters, whatever, mom, to really grasp that I was an alcoholic and I was quitting. I was recovering and I needed their help with that. And it took a while for my family to get on board, really. But I have a couple super, super, super good friends that have been my support system. Same time I told Kofi, I told them that I was no longer drinking and I needed their help. And they're like, absolutely, 100%. I got you. Not everybody was like that.
Yeah, no, it's society says we're the outcasts, actually.
Right. And I need to clarify, and something you said it yourself also when you were having your episode, is that talking about alcohol or food or whatever, this is my journey. I am not one of those recovered alcoholics that tries to get everybody else to stop drinking. I don't care what you do with your life. I mean, I don't want you to get in a hit and run accident because you were so wasted that and you kill somebody. But I have no desire to tell anybody else what to do. And I'm doing this for me and for my family and for my future, my career. I could have never gotten to where I am today if I was still drinking. I could have never opened up my boutique, my brick and mortar store. I could have never decided to run for council. I could have never been the parent that I am today and the wife that I am today if I had continued drinking. So, you know, it's a struggle. I won't say every day. Every day. I would say that I am triggered quite frequently with stressful days, with celebrations, with a beautiful sunny day.
Yep. So true.
And I have people who are on call. I have my support system. I have Kofi. I have my friend Eva. I text her when I'm at a family event and everyone's drinking. You know, she's in a different state and I text her. I have my friend Karina, who has had my back from the very beginning, and it's others. You know, there's so many others. But
and what would you say to somebody right now if they were maybe in the midst of where you were 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and really, you know, are in that position now and reflecting? What would you say to them?
I would say, think about your relationships in your life and think about how much better those relationships could be, and how, you know, waking up in the morning and not feeling sick all the time. Just consider it. There's an alternative, and there there are people out there that will support you. And if you don't have anyone, message me, because I will be that support person for you.
I love that. And I think, again, the same thing. I don't judge people who drink. Mr. Chester drinks, and he drinks, I like how he drinks. We don't drink at home ever. I think he has a fairly healthy relationship with alcohol, and all the family drinks. And if they want to drink, I love it. Like, fine, do what you want to do. And I think that if you've ever even considered not drinking, I think try it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and it's just, you become so clear. I became so clear, and like you said, I probably wouldn't have started this podcast if I was drinking on every Friday night. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't have done some things, and even during this journey, not drinking on Sunday, one drink, I mean, it didn't affect me, but when I've been wanting to drink, I would always just remember that it would affect this. I would push things off. I wouldn't do things. So I think it's just, if you've ever been curious if it would help your life or anything like that, I would definitely recommend trying it. And again, I'm not saying I'll never drink again. I could drink later. Again, it's just in the moment and in time. And I'm more of a sober, curious person. And I just, I'm aware of my relationship with alcohol and how I'm more of a binge drinker than a light drinker. So that's also a separate problem. So I think this is just an amazing conversation that people don't hear often, especially the mom juice, that kind of stuff. All the influencer moms, they always have their wine or something like that.
And even, this could be another subject completely to talk about, but when you get into perimenopause, all of the memes and the cute little videos about, perimenopause is so hard, which it absolutely fucking is. Sorry, Mom. But almost every single one, it's a woman with a glass of wine in her hand. Because that's how you get through it.
Well, it's societies.
And,
So reflect on that. So this is amazing, and I'd love to have you back sometime. So remind us where to follow you and where people can message you if they need your support.
You can message me through Instagram, Real Third Child Wellness Boutique. And my products are on sale at thirdchildwb.com. And I deliver for free locally. I ship all over the country for awesome vegan skincare and aromatherapy products.
Awesome. And we'll tag all of this and put it in the caption as well. So Theresa, thank you for coming to Keeping It Juicy. And as always, everyone, we have 3 questions that I forget about. What is your biggest fear in life? God, I have dementia.
I forgot to. No, it's fine. My biggest fear in life is...
We're coming, Stacy.
Is dying in a plane crash.
Really?
Yes.
Do you go on planes or no?
Very infrequently, and I'm terrified every time I'm on a plane. But there's just something. I don't know what it is. Too many movies, too many TV shows. Dying in a plane crash.
No, I think that's one of my fears too. Like, even when the landing is jittery, I'm like holding. It's just a weird lack of control.
It is.
If you were on death row, what would your last meal be?
I would have an all-you-can-eat buffet of my mom's homemade gluten-filled treats because I can't have gluten. Yeah. So like bread, cakes. She makes homemade pasta, like from scratch.
And on the deathbed, you just like explode.
I would just be like the bloated, most disgusting.
It's the way to go out.
Yeah.
I love it. And then I always say, we shouldn't have regrets in life, but is there something that you look back on that you might have done differently or reflect on?
Yeah, I was talking about this earlier with Kofi. I don't have a lot of regrets because I feel like I am who I am and I am where I am because of the things I've done or said or, been through. But if I could change one thing, it would be that we would not have bought our house when we bought it. We would have waited and rented longer because 6 months after we bought the house, Kofi was laid off and we were almost out into the street. So we went through all of our savings, but you can't turn back time. You can't change things. Maybe in an alternate universe, in the multiverse somewhere else, we stayed in that apartment and we saved up money and we're taking 2 vacations a year now because we're well off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of I do regret buying the house when we did.
Are you in it now still?
We are. It's a great house.
Sell that shit.
I know.
I'm getting mad money. I want to sell. I'm going to live in here. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for sharing and really keeping it juicy, raw, and real, because I think, this will impact somebody and help somebody. Yeah. So that's the most important thing. And as always, thank you for following, and be sure to keep it juicy. Thank you for listening to this episode of Keeping It Juicy. You can find this episode and all the rest on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And as always, don't forget, keep it juicy.